Hi, this is Angel Ribo with Mindalia TV, and we are here today at the Conscious Life Expo. We are so blessed that we have Mas Sajady with us. Hi, how are you?
Good, I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, please, a pleasure. So we would like to start. We are aware that you have had a few near-death experiences.
Yes, 2 near deaths.
2 near deaths.
Yes.
How would you say that transformed your personal life?
Well, the first near death really allowed me to say open up, because I had my jaws got crushed in a warehouse accident, and I separated from the identity of who we think we are. Because in this reality, we think we are accumulation of all the experiences that we had. But when I separated, I got to see the grandness, not just of who I am, but like everybody. You get to see the beauty, the grace, the love, the abundance, whether it's health, whether it's money, connection to God, or whatever you want to call that. I saw that firsthand. The second one, and this is what makes me different, because there's a lot of near deaths happens. The second one allowed me to transcend that so-called tunnel of light that people talk about. When people go, they've had a near death and they meet their loved ones, or they have a life review. I transcended that tunnel, and I went into what I call the beautiful blue space. That blue space has or holds all the knowledge that ever was, is, and shall be, and I can tap into it, and then and that's where I can read you. I can scan you kind of like an MRI and go, if you have heart issues, I can go, oh, you've got heart issues. By the way, I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to cure you or anything like that. But what I do is I awaken your internal healing abilities, your own healing abilities, just like I awoken mine. And then that's how you get to transform, your physical life, your spiritual life, your finances, your relationships. You become completely abundant rather quickly, actually.
And how can you, after those near-death experiences,
yes,
how did you decide that you were going to use that to help people?
Oh, it's not a conscious decision.
Okay.
You literally get drawn into say, hey, I need to help people. You just get drawn into it. You get pulled because you start to get to see the real reasons on why people have the issues that they do, right? And then like you and I, in conversations like, hey, what's going on, with your personal life or whatever it might be, and, I can help you, resolve those issues at a deeper level. It's almost like programming. I come from a computer background, and before I used to program computers, now I program humans. So.
Oh, that's a very nice comparison,
yeah.
Really. I like it. Actually, I'm a computer engineer, so I understand.
Awesome. Yeah.
Extraordinary. So how do you code someone? If you were to code me, or you were to code one of the Mindalia TV viewers, how would you do it?
So for coding, the best way is that when I see you, whether you're in person, whether you're in front of me, or via phone or Skype or whatever it might be, I can start to see, the blueprint or the original source code of how your body resonates. So there are millions of different frequencies that create your body. If you put it this way, the DNA that's in your body, it predicts your hair color, your eye color, even the curliness of your hair and all that, right? So in your DNA or your spiritual DNA, there's ways of how healthy you are, the mate that you're going to attract, depression, anxiety, connection to God. All those things are pre-programmed in you. Right? So if you think of me as a DNA reader, I can basically plug into your DNA. I really don't know how it all works, but I can plug into you and see where that coding went awry, or where it got distorted, and then help you edit that. So
do you actually edit, or is it the people that you help that gets to edit themselves?
There's both.
Okay.
So one, I'm not here to heal you or shift you or anything like that. But again, I awaken your own internal healing abilities, and that's where you shift. But also on top of that, because I'm kind of like that computer geek or that spiritual geek, I know what's going on with you. So it allows me to edit you at a faster level than rather you trying to figure out what's going on.
So would you say that the DNA is then rewritable?
Oh, of course. Yeah, there's a lot of scientific research. For example, they did research on the DNA structure on people who've been in war. Right? They've been in war, their offspring, like 2-3 generations down, that has never seen war, never seen destruction, torture, or anything like that. They elicit, say, the same emotional patterns as somebody, going to war. So yeah, that's rewritable, of course.
And would you say that the people that come to you are typically asking for the same kind of reprogramming?
Well, there's 4 general, like spiritual, right, health, wealth, whatever we call life, right? Whatever, and I see it as frequencies. So whatever creates life, I can help you edit.
And why do you think people have so many issues?
Why do people have so many issues? Well, it's a time distortion. The way I look at it, and I look at it not from a spiritual perspective or a religious perspective, although, people who have sessions with me, it's the closest, say, spiritual, say, experience that they'll have, because they really get united with their higher self, or if you want to call it God. So what was the question? Sorry.
No.
Why do they have so many issues? In reality, most people, although it might seem that they have a ton of issues, I actually see, say, one general pattern that runs in them. For example, say somebody runs an abusive pattern, right? They connect with abusive relationships, right? You'll see that not only their intimate relationships are abusive, but their friends take advantage of them, their mom and dad or parents or siblings, their family is abusive. Money is a big thing. They become abusive. Money actually abuses them, or this is where, say, they become a slave to money, right? If they run those patterns. So even if they, say, make $1 million, which is a lot of people's wishes and desires, they always go, if I had $1 million or whatever that number is, I'll be happy. Well, I work with people who make millions and billions, and they're not any happier than anybody else, because again, those underlying programs, say like abuse, keep controlling them. So what I do is I help delete those patterns.
And let's talk about age, because you talked about time distortion.
Yes.
Is it easier to help a kid than a grown up?
Oh, yes. So kids, from like 6 and under, they literally like shift so fast because they get it. They're in the environment that I run from. For example, I see, right? Because they haven't been distorted, right? So yeah, they change. People who are older, right? Their spirit actually comes in, so they shift really fast as well.
So that means that in some sense, do you help people, let's say adults, do you help them to be kids again in some sort?
Oh, that's you asked some excellent questions.
Thank you.
So what happens is that, again, I'll use an abuse example, but you can use any example. Okay, it's just clear.
Sure.
So say, for example, and this is a real life situation. Somebody's been abused, pretty much all their life, and now they're like 60, right? I go back in time and I go, oh, like at 6 or 7, this and this and this happened to you, your father was abusive, whatever it is, right? So let's go ahead and delete that. I go ahead and delete that pattern, and then what they do is, they're 60, but they'll see life from like a 7 or 8 year old or whatever time frame that got distorted. It's almost like, you have a movie scene, right? You didn't like that scene. So what I do is like delete that scene for them, and then they get to go back in time and they'll actually go, Mas, after you worked on me, I feel like a 12-year-old again. So they get to rewrite the scene the way it should have been. And then their present moment changes. And this is really key, guys. Once their present moment changes, the opportunities that they see around them like change drastically as well.
And so in some sort, or in some sense, could we do something with the kids after 6 years old, so we make sure that they stay in the good track? What would you suggest someone that has kids, so they stay on the right track?
Yeah, so for kids, well, one, if your kids are like really, really, say, intuitive, right? Hone those intuitive abilities. You know, if they start or sense things around them, it's not make-believe, it's not in their head. They actually sense other realities that are around them, and there's other, presences that are around in those realities. So, you know, it's up to the parent's job to go, you know, it's not in your mind, you're not making it up, you know, so really hone and really ask questions. It's like, well, what do you see? You know, what's going on? Especially if people have, like young kids have nightmares, right? They're afraid to go to bed because, again, they see those other presences that are available to them. So that's really one of the best ways. And listening to say some of my meditations really transform, especially those kids that are in trouble, or you know, they're emotionally distraught. It calms them down. So.
You are a transformational leader.
Yes, I am.
So has there ever been someone that you have not been able to help?
Well, obviously, you know, I don't have a 100% track record, but let's just say that there's individuals that shift, and just like statistically, I would say about 30 or 40% of the people like really shift almost right away. Some people even like start walking. Like I had this event, this lady came in a wheelchair. She walked out of that event. Okay? And if you look on my website, you'll see that there's tons of testimonials of like magical things, right? Unbelievable things, but yeah, those things change. So if you're really, really ready, yes, those people shift. And then there's people that take a little longer because, you know, they're usually afraid or controlling or controlled. So it takes a little longer for them to say shift, but they do shift. Yeah.
But you still can help them even over time?
Yeah, and well, the nice thing about me as well is like I bypass, you know, the conscious mind. You don't have to believe in what I do. In fact, some of the best testimonials that we've had is that we've had a loved one that I work on, say, their child, and that person didn't even know that I was working on them, right? And their life transformed. Is it a drug addiction? He's always into drugs. I worked on him through the mother, and then in a very short time, you know, his life cleared up. So.
If you could, you know, you could give an advice to our, you know, over 600,000
wow.
subscribers at Mindalia TV, what would you tell them?
Well, one is that, you know, the best way to transform your life and become abundant in any, say, situation, you know, health, wealth, relationships, whatever it might be, is the best way to transform is know exactly where you are. So be aware of your body. So this goes beyond, say, mindfulness or being present. You start to be aware of exactly what your body is doing. It pulls your spirit, your essence into you, and then that's where you start shifting. I do the same thing for you, but just a little faster.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, so thank you very much, Mas. Has been
so much.
An amazing interview. We really enjoyed it. I'm sure that our viewers have enjoyed it too. So thank you very much. Again, this is Angel Ribo with Mindalia TV from the Conscious Life Expo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.